I'm a valet driver turned car thief. I quit over what I found in this truck's back seat. On my taxes, I'm a valet parking lot attendant, but I pay my bills cloning keys, planting trackers, and snapping Polaroids of every high-value car that rolls onto my lot. At the end of each week, I turned over a scrapbook of easy-to-steal rides to the man in the black Bronco. His crew is patient, waiting weeks or months to make their move. By then the victim has forgotten all about me, the common thread linking these cases together. I get a hefty finder's fee for each successful score, paid via an envelope, stuffed in my glove box. "You better sock that away," my coworker Loretta said when she caught me counting my cash. I remember almost dropping the envelope. "Easy there, Jumpy. You think you're the first valet to pad their pockets with a little something extra on the side?" she snorted. "I'm just warning you, is all you're only good for so many cars. Too much face time. Then he'll either cut you loose, or ask you to do the stealing." "I'd never," I said. "That's too risky." Loretta clicked her tongue. "You got it backwards. You've got the easy job, not the safe one. Your face is the one everybody remembers." I didn't believe her. I had a new loft in the Canal District with a shitload of cash on hand. That's enough to make most 24-year-olds feel invincible. But of course, she was right. Her words started to eat at me. I got nervous, tried to avoid meeting the owner's eyes when they dropped off luxury vehicles. But I think that made the problem worse. I felt sweaty every time I reached for my camera or wired in a bug, and started dreading the days the next Rolls-Royce rolled onto my lot. In short, I was off my game. A few months after, as predicted, my illicit employer tried to cut me loose. It was the first time I'd seen him standing outside of his jet black car since the day we met. He looked rail thin, the kind of skinny you get from a serious coke habit, with a crooked smile and a few golden teeth. "Been good doing business, but it's time you move on," he said. At that point I could have bought a house with the cash I'd bothered to launder down at the Riverview. But that's the thing about easy money, once you've got a taste, it's hard to walk away. Screw pride, and forget caution. I begged, "Come on. It's going so well." "That's the best time to walk away." He clapped a hand on my shoulder. His grip was tight, and bony, sending my hair on end. "Sorry kid, too much face time. Someone is bound to remember you." "What about what if I do, you know? The other stuff?" He lowered his sunglasses, and his voice. "You don't mind getting your hands dirty?" I did. "No, not at all." "I dunno, kid. I'm thinking of getting out of the export biz, truthfully." He scratched at his bicep, mindlessly. "More feds sniffing around the dock every day. Maybe we change gears a while. Go high volume, mid-value," I said. "The kind of stuff that would set a family back, but you wouldn't think twice if you saw one on the road. We could ship those out domestically." "And who's gonna clone keys? Snap pics?" "Half these guys already did work for me." "Milton," I volunteered. "He's desperate." The recent hire at the valet stand had a baby face, and a pile of student loans he could never hope to pay back with his degree. "Milton," my boss repeated. "Yeah, I think I've seen him once or twice." "Yeah." He nodded. "Yeah, that could work." In exchange for a bigger cut, I quit my legit job to start stealing full-time. Boosting rides was easy when you knew exactly where the car was, and had a copy of the keys. Even still, I could never eat before a job. Shook like a leaf every time I slipped on my gloves and into the driver's seat. Somehow, the issue wasn't losing my nerves, it was finding my conscience. My boss firmly believed knocking off other criminals was way more trouble than it was worth. If I stumbled on something unsavory, I was under orders to wipe the key, burn the picture, and forget the tracker. But I couldn't forget what I saw in the back seat of my last mark. The job brought me to the edge of the county, some tiny fishing town with a mercantile store, a diner, and not much else. Tracker data told me this guy made a trip out there twice a week. I tailed him to the town's only inn, right above their only bar. I never considered why he might have been going. I just waited for the lights upstairs to go out before I made a move on the truck. I climbed up inside the souped-up F-250, shaky as ever, and turned her over. These new engines all start so quiet, I hardly have to worry about rousing anyone. As always, I ignored the backup camera, twisting around in the front seat to see out the back windshield. If it hadn't been for this old habit, I never would have seen him. A thick tarp covered the space between the rows of seats, where the passengers would put their feet. That by itself, in a work truck, wouldn't have been cause for alarm. What gave me pause was the lock of greasy brown hair poking out from underneath. The rigid covering had gotten bunched up, allowing me to peek underneath from my vantage point. An eye stared back at me, bloodshot and vacant. Was there really someone laying in the back seat? "Hello?" The eye didn't so much as blink. I patted the top of the tarp. It was hard and cold against my palm. Still, the eye didn't blink. I reached into the back seat, taking the tarp between my thumb and finger, and lifted it ever so slightly. There was a body, eyelids wide, mouth agape. In the light from the street lamp, I could recognize the features. It was Milton. But how? Why? The car hadn't even been stolen. Did they find the bug? See him clone the key? The more I sat there, hyperventilating, the less those questions seemed to matter. I reached under the steering column and yanked out the transponder, the device that Milton may have been killed for planting. I switched the car off, and closed the door as quietly as I could, and got the hell out of there. 20 minutes later, I was standing at the first payphone I could find, hand hovering over the buttons. I knew the rules, what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't let it go. I called in the anonymous tip, then left when I heard sirens. Cops have beaten us to cars before. We had a procedure, plus a plant in the local PD. The pickup crew I was meant to deliver the car to would be quietly waved off, the rendezvous cancelled. The next time I saw my boss in a certain manner of speaking was on payday, when the envelope in my glove box was heavier than usual. Instead of cash, I found a stack of pictures. A few were of family and friends. Some shots showed me, relaxing at home. Others depicted my meetings with the man in the black Bronco. A red X covered his face. The final picture looked like it had been taken from the second floor of the inn, through one of the windows I'd been sure were dark. I saw myself, halfway out of the pickup truck. Snitch had been scribbled on the photo. The envelope still has some weight to it. I turned it upside down with a shaky hand. A pile of golden teeth, crusted with dried blood, fell into my palm. That was about an hour ago. I'm trying to think through my next move, and open to any advice you might have.